Welcome to the Hearthstone Complaint Department podcast. Hope you are not sodium intolerant. Here are your hosts, Jay and Nick. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Hearthstone Complaint Department podcast, where we do a deep dive on the saltiest takes about Hearthstone, past, present, and future. This is not an I Hate Hearthstone podcast, but we are here to talk about all the things that drive people bonkers about the game, unpack them, and see if we could turn smiles or frowns upside down, yada, yada, yada. I'm Jay from This Week in Hearthstone, and my co-host is Nick from the Flair Hearthstone YouTube channel. Nick, what's going on?
Not much. It's having a week, aren't we?
we're gonna have a week. Ups and downs and sideways. And listen, today's episode is titled Ready for Zilliax Nerfs Yet and the Future of Hearthstone. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the past 7 days, so we're going to unpack a few things that happened and maybe go over some more things and a couple other things. We got some stuff to talk about. So thanks everybody for stopping by. Let's go ahead and first of all talk about the most important thing that happened, and we already went through this. It's the first week of Perils. Perils in Paradise came out on Tuesday. It was super interesting. Everybody thought that certain classes during the theory craft were going to be super, super overpowered. There's some surprises. We thought some cards were going to be absolutely busted, and then we heard no mention of it after the theory craft. And yeah, I wanted to go through some of the good, bad, and the ugly of it from week one. I know you have thoughts, Nick. I know there's a lot we need to talk about, Nick, but give me some initial thoughts on the good and the bad of Perils of Paradise with only a week to deal with it.
So, something that's really funny that I think is very funny is I didn't agree with any of the people who were like dooming about Druid or whatever being the best deck in the game, all that, right? I very clearly said that I think that Pirate Demon Hunter will be the best deck in the game, and that I think that Treasure Distributor should get nerfed. Some people didn't like that I said that, but whatever. And guess what? If you go on HS Replay right now, guess what the highest win rate deck in the game is?
Yep.
It's Pirate Demon Hunter. It was obvious in my opinion. Like even my list wasn't very good, and I was still stomping all these people playing these Druid decks that people were complaining about, and it was nice. It felt great. For some reason, I didn't run Zilliax. Shocking, I know.
That is crazy shocking that you did. Well, listen, you didn't, but everybody else and their grandmother, they all ran Zilliax, and we're going to unpack that a little bit today. You know, one of the things that I saw, my biggest thing when Theory Craft, because remember, Nick and I both got the opportunity to join the Theory Craft, is we saw some of the warrior things, and my concern was not really the druid as a, just druid. My thing was the warrior with all of the druid tourist cards that got thrown into it. And there was some busted combos. And you know what I have not heard or seen from once this entire week? I have not seen that sandwich weapon whatsoever. I don't think I've seen it played on streams. I don't think I've seen it in a YouTube channel. I am shocked that is not something much, much higher on the radar, if you will. It's almost like it's not even there.
Yeah, it's just so slow is the thing. Like, we were talking about this before it started, that like Hearthstone keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger to like pretty disgusting degrees. And I feel like if Rycleaver came out even like 2 years ago, maybe, and like say, actually, no, for sure. If Rycleaver came out in United and Stormwind, it would be an iconic legendary weapon that saw a lot of play, all that, because it had actual support. But then you come to Perils in Paradise, and what do you actually have to play with it? You have Monstrosity, which is like not that good of a minion. And then you have like Beached Whale, which is like, again, not that good of a minion. Like back when Big Warrior was really good, you had Troublemaker, which would at the end of the turn deal 6 damage to your enemy hero, basically, and summon minions.
That was
and
nutty.
then you had,
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, then you had Rattlegore, which was Rattlegore, right? Like there's nothing to use with Rycleaver, and it's overcosted in my opinion. It should probably be like 6 mana. It's just, whew.
I think some of those minions, like as an example, on their own, Beached Whale is strong, but not overpowering. the elusive dragon, the one that only takes 1 damage at a time. That one is a strong but not overpowered on its own. I think the biggest thing was during the theory craft is and the monstrosity as well, monstrosity, whatever you want to call it. All three of those combined, I think, was the biggest hurdle. That and Zilliax or what have you. And I think that's probably why people started saying that, because they were seeing this. Like, everybody was tuned into the theory craft and they saw those combos. And yes, those combos are still there. But you know what? If I'm sitting there fighting something that needs turn 7, turn 8 to, really pop off, then I'm just going to play something hyper aggressive, and we have 4 or 5 options for that, and then I'm just going to smack that guy at turn 6 before he even gets the weapon off. So yeah. I definitely see that. One of the things I also wanted to ask you is concierge. What do you think of that card a week into it? Because we both said that we thought, like, and I think I remember you saying that this was going to be something we would have a problem with going forward.
I think that concierge might also just be held back right now by the fact that quite possibly the best deck in the game runs 0 new cards. So
yeah,
that's also something that the new cards aren't very strong, which, well, let me rephrase. The new cards are, some of them are individually very strong, but the overall expansion is not that strong. So, like, I was thinking that, like, Druid would be able to use all this stuff and it would be really strong, right? But then, like, when you actually compare it to anything Druid could do before, it's not better, is the thing. It's not that Concierge is weak, it's that it's weaker than everything Druid was doing last expansion. So, It doesn't really matter. Like, it's just, yeah, if you can, like, turn 6 kill your opponent, whatever. Oh, yeah, that's so crazy. Okay, but you could also, like, turn 5 kill them with, like, Dorian Druid or whatever anyway in Standard. So, like, who cares? Like,
yeah, no, I get it.
And it's more consistent, so it's just like, who cares? But
how is the Wild this week?
Sorry. What are you saying?
No, go ahead. I said, how was Wild this week?
Did you see Excavate Rogue? How a couple, like, the 2 highest rated players on NA Ladder are both playing Excavate Rogue with 0 new cards.
I saw that.
What?
It's telling you something.
I don't think that has ever happened before.
That's absolutely telling you something. And then Wild, I asked you that before we started discussing that. Is Wild been, like, more powerful, less powerful? Like, what's going on with Wild?
Oh, there's no change.
The past couple of days.
No change at all. I think maybe only like 20 cards from the entire expansion have seen any play in Wild in serious decks, and none of them in the best decks. So, like, I was thinking that bird watching would be really good in Huron Hunter. I haven't seen anyone play with it at all. I don't think anyone cares about the card. Like,
that's one of the best cards that I've seen in the expansion.
That's what I thought too. I thought bird watching would be so strong that it's, like, good enough for Huron Hunter, but I haven't even seen people try and experiment with it. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. Even if it were to be better, it's not, like, a good enough change that it matters at all. It's not, like, significantly better than Stitch Tracker to the point that, like, you just cut Stitch Tracker for it, is what I'm understanding. Because it obviously can't be if no one's doing it. It's just...
Right. No, I get it. All right, so listen.
And then, oh, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, what else? What else? No, tell me.
I was just going to say, and then Miracle Rogue, 0 new cards, but that's obvious.
Well, also, I mean, I was looking at some of the things, because, when I'm doing the budget, I started the budget deck video today, to get that ready for Monday, and I'm looking for decks below 5,000, 5,000 dust. One of the decks that I've been talking about for months now, because I do that every week, is Demon Hunter. Now, it's bronze through gold. We're not talking about going all the way to legend or whatnot, but Undead Demon Hunter or Unholy Demon Hunter, 0 dust, and it's, like, above 50%. The other one, and that has no new cards in it. The other one, Hand Buff Pally, Flood Pally. Yeah. These are still way up there, and they don't have any of the new cards. I don't even think they tested the new cards. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, to be on the positive scope of this isn't that great when something that's just very, very defining comes out like a new set, a new expansion or what have you. And then you could still play that. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to open packs and you can still compete. But I don't know. I that's a very, very weak argument to this game.
Usually you'll want to see like the really good decks get at least like 2, maybe 3 new cards total, right?
Right.
But like you're saying, I mean, Handbuff Paladin doesn't really want a single new card. Like I don't think there's any cards in Perils in Paradise that are better for Handbuff Paladin than the deck already has in Standard.
I can't think of one
and that's
either.
What happens then, right? Because we already know Handbuff Paladin is incredibly powerful. So if it doesn't have any new cards in it, because none of the new cards actually matter for the deck, damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So the new expansion is out. I love we both love the art. It's not a problem. There's some things. It's only been a week. There's things still, to come. We have a mini set in September, but that's a long time between September. I think there's going to be a lot more refinement in the next week or two, and I think that's really going to short it out. And hopefully they have a discussion, and this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about. There's some things here. I and myself and Nick are not in the camp of, hey, let's just go ahead and nerf stuff. We believe some things could be buffed as well. I think it's a little bit more beneficial for you to sit there and move some stats up instead of, just taking them down. But Zilliax, I feel, has some fundamental issues, and I think it needs to be adjusted a little bit. And I am not, like I said, I am not one that goes for, nerf it. This is yesterday or the day before, apologies. This is Friday afternoon on Legend. It's in 73% of the decks.
Yeah.
There are parts of it, they're nicknaming it Unkilliax or Killiax or what have. It is the most difficult thing to get off the board, and with the amount, I think Warrior has the way of bringing this back. Hydration Station now has a way of bringing it back. There's probably 1 or 2 more. Doesn't Priest also have something that could bring it back? There are so many ways of bringing this thing back. It's almost like we're in a small mini Zilliax meta. What do you think, Nick?
I think that we should fully revert Zilliax and then rotate it to Wild early. That's what I think we should do. Because fully reverted Zilliax and Wild was fine. Like, I don't think there was anything about it that was like overpowered. Maybe the Swarm one where you have Ticking and Pylon, like the one, make cost 1 less, +1/+1. That one was, that one was good, but it wasn't really overpowered in any decks. And then, like, it actually got better going to 8 mana because even Shaman could play it. And it's not like it was actually, like, anything that mattered for basically any other deck. So it going back to 7, the only thing that really changes is now you can play an Odd Paladin again. And Odd Paladin sucks, so...
I think with this one, I don't like the idea of, listen, you could put this thing at 14 mana. That's not the problem. The problem is not the mana. The problem is maybe a little tiny bit on the stats or what have you, or what the situation is. I think this does not need elusive. I think it should get rid of elusive. I think Divine Shield is a problem. Reborn is a little bit of a problem. I would even say, like, hey, take out half of the keywords on the one module and let it sit. It doesn't need everything under the sun, because then it goes into unkillable mode. And it's just, if there was no way of bringing it back, I would say that we would have something. And, listen, the Legend players in the game are a very small group, but they're very good. You don't get to Legend by just sitting around pressing buttons. You need skill to get to Legend. And those that are in Legend are putting this into 73%. Why? Because it's unkillable. That's my problem with that one. What other things do you think? Is there any other cards that have been this overpowered for this long of a time?
Oh, not this long, no. Because Ascalor was in like 50%, but it got nerfed even.
Only
so after that, in like the Astalor nerf was actually significant, right? Like the card was still really good, but once they rotated Bran out of standard, it's like it was fine. It was just a strong card. It wasn't anything like crazy. It was just a very solid card that you kind of just wanted all the time because like why not, right? It was a 2-mana 2/2 that dealt 2 damage at the absolute worst, right? There's just nothing actively bad about Astalor. Zilliax just does everything because that's what they designed it to do. They designed it to do everything, and it's the best at doing all of those things. There's no card in the game that is better at doing a single thing Zilliax does other than Zilliax. Zilliax is better than Zilliax at some things even. Like, if you need to cheat out a way to heal and fight for the board really early, Zilliax is the best card in the game to do that. If you need a card that buffs your entire board, there is nothing better than a 0-mana 3/5 that gives your entire board +1/+1. If you need if you want to buff a minion, Zilliax with Twin Module and then Power Module, you make it like a 10/10, and then on the next turn you have 2 20/10s because the attack doubles. It's one of the best buff targets in the entire game. Zilliax is just the best at so many things that you can't just get rid of it. You would have to nerf a million different things about it. So it's like, what do you do? That's why I think like rotating it is the only option because they can't balance this card. It's just not possible. It is the most overloaded card to ever exist in Hearthstone, which says a lot. And like, what do, right? The game isn't equipped to handle a card like this. Just like, people argued the game wasn't equipped to handle Gen and Baku 7 years ago. And I still think Gen and Baku would have been fair, but a lot of people are just like, no, it needed to go, and they did go. So if people want it to go, it probably should go, is kind of what I'm thinking. We already have the precedent of it happening, so it's not like it's the end of the world.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't like even coming up with these situations, but you make a compelling argument. I can't think of any way, shape, or form. And I think we mentioned this like the week at Theory Craft. We said, hey, listen, just nerf Zilliax and let the rest go. Let the meta go like without, Zilliax being a prime candidate. And you know what? Now I'm even stepping back on that. I'd love to see a meta that has all these new cards with Zilliax out of it potentially. I can't believe I'm even saying that. That is so cool. And then also like, do you think more cards would be played because Zilliax is not there? And I think that would be 100% the case.
100%. If Zilliax wasn't in the game, it would open up so much. Not only just because it wouldn't be in every deck, so every deck has to slot in one new card, but just like if you're playing against Warrior and they chemical spill Zilliax on turn 3, you can't win the game. No deck in the game is beating that because they'll play Hydration Station, they'll get a million more, they'll play Boom, they'll get a million more, and you lose. So an aggro deck can't beat that. Slow deck can't really beat that. Combo decks can't beat it because they can't kill the Zilliax. So, and then on the flip side, if you're playing a combo deck and then you're fighting against aggro, no, you're not. You just threw down a 0-cost Zilliax that heals you. So now aggro decks have a hard time killing combo decks. And it's just like every deck uses Zilliax in a different way to the point that it's just like you can't not run it if you actually are trying to win. And that's horrible. That is objectively bad. That is objectively bad for the game.
I can't think of any other card now that, we're talking about this or whatnot that has ever been this egregious in terms of play rates. In any way, shape, or form. It's just, because, and we just, I don't want to backtrack, but Astalor was not a problem. Yes, it was overpowered, but it was in 50% overpowered. I don't believe that 50% is not enough of a problem to me. Because it's a strong card, that's fine. Because it wasn't a make or break. This card is quite a bit of a make or break situation. And he just, Nick just said it. You go certain instances, certain computations and what have you, that are not difficult to get, you're not winning the game. You are literally the NPC in that single player opponent's game. There's nothing you're doing that way.
If I remember correctly, Kobold Miner during Showdown in the Badlands had like a 60% inclusion rate, but that's a 2-mana 1/1 common, that had like 6 classes that wanted to use it, right? And those 6 classes were all pretty good because Excavate was like the big thing of the expansion.
I don't
So,
think that's a thing. I don't. It's not the same thing. It's
yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's not the same.
Number. Yeah, if we're looking at the number of percentage or what have you, yes, that equals out. But you didn't need that one. That one did not make or break. This one literally can change the face of what you're playing, what you're doing.
Yeah, like if you're not playing an Excavate deck, who cares if you don't run that card? If you're playing any deck, you need to be running Zilliax. That's the thing.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so listen, it's overpowered, and we'll see what happens. I would imagine they'll start addressing some stuff, soon. I mean, I'm looking online, I'm looking on social media, and I'm seeing a couple more complaints about it. I'm not taking any like, oh yeah, it's because everybody hates it. It's not like that or what have you. But they've got to be looking at these numbers. They have to have been looking at these numbers since since the theory craft of, okay, what should we do? And that's got to be a conversation that's happening, if not before now. Just on this one, I don't know. I agree with the point is, don't touch any of the cards. Get rid of Zilliax and see what happens with the rest of the expansion for like 3-week period, 4-week period. Let us take what you gave us, and see what we could do. And I think it's going to kill two birds with one stone. I think by getting rid of that situation, it's going to have you create more opportunities that Zilliax went away with. And then also, I think some of these card play rates would be much, much higher, and maybe a different type of meta.
Yeah. Anything would be nice, because like I feel so bad for standard players. It's one thing for Wild to not have that big of changes between expansions, right? Because if there's 5,000 cards, 145 new cards, that's not anything, right? But in standard, that's a fifth of the game. A new expansion was a fifth of all the cards that you could play with. And if you're still playing with the same, all the cards you're playing with before, that's awful. I feel so bad.
Yeah. One of the things I was looking at in terms of Perils in Paradise, I don't think we have. So we have more opportunities for Automaton to be strong. Haven't seen it yet whatsoever. It's just not there right now. Same thing with the Amalgam. I haven't seen anything pop off with that yet, and it's annoying. I'm like, that card is so fun. There's so many opportunities. I just haven't seen something that makes overpowered. Martian came up with a really cool wild deck with Line Cook, and it's amazing, but I don't know how crazy the win rate is. I just wanted to do some fun with some of those cards, and I don't think they've had enough time to shine because, hey, you're just playing those quick, fast, easy. I wouldn't say easy to win, but some of these are coin flips. Some of these game wins are absolutely coin flips. Who's turn one as opposed to turn two? If you mulligan within a certain point. And I was kind of like, I don't see some of the archetypes that I wanted to put together, I wanted to see put together with like those two things. I haven't seen them put together yet. It's kind of, a little nerve-wracking to see, but again, it's early. We'll see what happens as we go through the motions. So new set and the overpowered Zilliax. Is there anything else you need to add for those two? Because we could get into the meat and potatoes of the entire conversation that we were gonna have today. Because we read something.
Yeah, all I'm saying is when Gen and Baku rotated to Wild, you got a full dust refund from them, and then you got to disenchant the cards if you're a standard player. So if you're a standard player and you don't want Zilliax to be refunded, I don't know, man. You're just missing out on a bunch of dust. That's all I'm saying.
Especially if you crafted them golden, like I did.
I have a golden Zilliax. I want free 3,200 dust.
I'll take it. Yeah, don't dust it now. You'd be silly not to.
Yeah, do not dust Zilliax now. It'll get nerfed a million more times.
So we saw a letter, and that letter was Hearthstone update looking ahead. Came out on Friday. This is in response to Perils in Paradise not having a board for this expansion. And, first of all, part of the situation was we had no idea until the game launched. We weren't allowed to, basically it was being axed, but, no one on that side let anybody say anything about it. It looks like, because every question I saw on social media about it was just completely ignored. I mean, not completely ignored, but it was just, they pretty much made it seem like, hey, we're not talking about this right now. And then, Hearthstone put in a note in, hey, we'll talk to you about it next week. And next week was yesterday, and they talked about it. There's good and bad to unpack with this. And listen, this just happened just a few hours ago. Hearthstone's coming back to China. NetEase and Blizzard, they finally made up their relationship. It was rocky for a couple of years. They're coming back. So there's going to be some cool things happening. But, my thing was, first of the year, January 1st, 2024, they gutted esports. And then this part. And then they got rid of duels, and then there's so many things, and you're looking through, and you're like, okay, no response is bad. No response is better than, hey, we got you, we'll talk later. And everybody thought, I mean, not everybody, but there's a vocal group of people that were like, this game is on its last legs. There's nothing in the Blizzard Gear store in the last 2 expansions, I believe. I don't think anything new after BlizzCon, and what we got was there was a poster and like a lanyard or what have you. Nothing. And you look at those things and you're like, okay, I guess the game is on its last legs, or it's on like sunset mode where we're not going to put anything new into it. And then this came up from the executive producer of Hearthstone, Nathan Lyon Smith, and he said, hey, we're sorry, and we're going to do better. And we're going to, start talking to us more and apologizing, what have you. They got a lot of stuff on the horizon. But, I said it before, but you won't have to apologize if you just talk to us. Don't apologize for not saying it. Just talk to us.
Yeah. Plus, like, something that people just for some reason won't realize is that if things go away, it's not like it's Team 5's fault. I don't know why people always like blame them for it.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't have money, that's not their fault. Like, yeah, it's not near even the consumer's fault. It's like, yeah, if they have to downsize, it's not anyone's fault. It just happens. It happens to everything. Everything goes through a downsizing period. Games die. That does happen. Is Hearthstone dying? Not according to this post either. They already talked about like years in the future of planning. So that alone like tells us, at least 2 or 3 more years, right? Like for sure. So that's good,
2 or 3 more years as to where, hey, we're just going to run through the cadence of everything that we've built, or we're going to come up with new stuff. And that's what I was thinking. Yes. Did I think Hearthstone was disappearing tomorrow? No. But I thought, okay, they're 2 years ahead, so we have a couple of years of expansions, and then that's it, nothing new. That's what I, potentially could have thought, thinking doom and gloom or what have you. And yeah, like don't get me wrong, I like what was in this update. I like the fact that they said, they put in there, Hearthstone is here to stay, and that makes me very, very happy because I love this game or what have you. But listen, you are in the same office building as World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft does a lot of things to let us know what's coming down in the pipeline. 100%. They have the thing where they break out all the patches and they say like, summer 2024 is this, and fall of 2024 is this, and what have you. Just let us know that. These are the 4 things that are coming, and
it's really funny though. What's going on is so Blizzard just like they secured their deal with NetEase for China, right?
Yep.
Do you know who publishes Marvel Rivals?
NetEase.
That's so funny to me that Blizzard made they finalized their deal with their biggest upcoming rival in a different space for a different game. Something about that's just really funny to me. I'm sorry. I was thinking about it and I had to say it.
Okay, so
because we've both been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals.
I forget. Okay, so that makes it's literally a reskin. Listen, I've not played Overwatch as much as you have, but it's kind of a reskin. You could sit there and see definite pieces back and forth and be like, okay, yeah, this reminds me of, and then say Overwatch. That's what I mean.
I'm not a big fan of that line of thought process, because like you could say the same thing about Overwatch and TF2, right? Like you got the rocket launcher character, you got the sniper character, you got the scout, you got the heavy, all that stuff. Like it's just what happens. Hero shooters aren't really that easy to experiment with because, especially for Overwatch's case, because it's first person. Marvel Rivals being third person is such like a big gateway that they opened up to allow like a lot of different like gameplay patterns.
Yeah.
Because like something like when and a very easy example is Winston and Hulk are very similar. They both have the big jump, they both shield themselves, and they both kill. They're both divers for the backline, right? And then they have the big ult, which makes them giant, and they start swinging, right? Playing Winston in Overwatch is really boring. Even when you ult, even when he's big monkey swinging his arms, it's really boring. But when I play Hulk, dude, I like jump in as Hulk, I grow giant. I'm like, oh, dude, Hulk smash. Because I can see myself. I can see the giant Hulk. And it's awesome. It's so cool. And then that's just not a thing in Overwatch because you can't see yourself. You can't see your skins.
I forgot
that's another thing. That is another thing, is that you can't see your own skins in Overwatch. So it's like, why even buy them?
I noticed that. And listen, like I said, I did preface everything that I said that I don't play a lot of Overwatch or what have you. I forgot all about that. And yeah, you are absolutely right. When you're like looking at that game, you're like, okay, yeah, I can see what that. I forgot all that. That's what annoys me about certain games. Like when we're talking about skins and what have you, is, yes, I love it, and we'll speak specifically to Hearthstone. Card backs are awesome, but I never barely see them.
You don't get to see them. You don't get to see them. It sucks so much.
Like, yeah, I have a cool collection, but the only way I can see that is if, like, I'm looking sideways or looking at my collection of the card backs. I don't know. Maybe if there was something, instead of it being sideways in the shelf, throw it up on the board. And that's one of the things that they talked about in this letter. Like, they're talking about, making new boards and potentially like board pets or what have you. So there's some pretty cool, interesting things. Maybe.
Yeah,
it looked good.
So board customization is something that could be so awesome if they allow you to swap in all 4 parts of the board. That is so cool. That is. I already made a tier list for what the best board combinations are. You can't go wrong doing one of the 4 corners of the Festival of Legends board. Except I guess the top right. The top right's the only one that's not good on its own. You have to have the bottom left for that one, but still.
Yeah.
There's so many good board combinations that you can do. It's so cool. And I really am surprised that we haven't gotten it, because I feel like that's not the hardest thing in the world to implement. If they have 5,000 cards in the game that all can interact with each other, you can't have 20 boards that have interchangeable pieces. Like,
yeah, and the only thing, like, listen, we know that they can manipulate boards because they did it for Battlegrounds. Okay, so we know that. We know that the same system that runs Battlegrounds, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not a dev to this game. So we know we have the ability to manipulate boards in some way, shape, or form. If you look at it, sometimes you get, when you're playing Battlegrounds, sometimes you get yours, sometimes you get theirs. No matter what, and I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it or what have you, but if they can do that, I don't see why they can't swap, left, right, top, bottom. You know what I mean? There's got to be a way of doing it. And I'm interested for it. I don't know if I need a distraction. The boards are a distraction. When I'm not doing too good, I'm hitting the buttons there, and I'm
thinking everything,
messing around with the secrets and everything like that. And that's one of the cool things I used to do. Do I care? I've mentioned this before. You mentioned it before too. If no boards were happening, the game stays 5 years, I'd be okay with it. But the fact that this is potentially coming up, I mean, my biggest thing of the entire thing is you wouldn't have to sit there and send up a note after all the uproar and all the people complaining and everything like that. You just keep us posted. We used to have that, breakdown of what was happening for the year. And I don't think we've seen one in the past year. I don't think we got one this year. Just do something like that, or, talk to us. Go through saying, here's the quarterly update. Here's the middle of the year season breakdown of Hearthstone or something. Just let us know what's going on, because no news looks like bad news.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Not hearing anything is worse than hearing, "Oh, we're fine."
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't have any mailbag today. There was not a lot of information specifically to perils, and we wanted to spend some extra time talking. So listen, if you have a complaint about this game, if you want to talk about a salty take on, a match that you had or a class, like, you just come over to us. Speakpipe.com/HS complaints, and we might even play your conversation over the show. Let's talk here. So one of the things that came up as we were getting ready to get this all set up, Nick came to me and said, "Hey, listen, I need you to change something on the end cards for my channel." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." Thinking, his sing-along buddy days are numbered and it's no longer his favorite because there's something else come up. And no, it was quite a little bit different than that. Nick, tell us what's going on.
I don't know, man. I'm not having a good time playing the game. I feel bad, right? Because I did all this stuff. I spent all this time building up this YouTube channel, trying to build this brand, and then I finally am starting to see a little success, and I'm like, this sucks. It's not even like I'm not enjoying recording, because I don't do gameplay content, right? So it's not that, right? Because that happens to a lot of people, right? They're like, oh, I still like the game, I just don't like recording it. But it feels like a chore to open the game. I've played maybe 1-2 days since the expansion came out, aside from that first day, and like it doesn't matter which mode I play. It just feels like anytime I try to do anything that's like kind of cool, my opponent just plays like 8,000 cards in 2 turns, and it's like, well, I played 4 cards. That's cool. It feels like we've gone in the opposite direction of how you make your game good. It feels like, Hearthstone really peaked in 2019, and that's just been nothing but a downhill since. And I know a lot of people have agreed with that. Like, when I brought that up, that sentiment, I've seen people like share it on their own. It's just unfortunate. And so I've decided, I'm still going to do YouTube. I like making YouTube. It's just, I'm not going to do Hearthstone at least as much. I have like 1 video already pre-made, stuff like that. But like, I'm basically in that period where I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff at a wall, see if it sticks. And
the way to do it.
Yeah. It just happens, Sometimes you really like something, and then it just doesn't hold up anymore, and it feels bad.
One of the things I say, because you see, listen, Elemental Core, E-Core, whatever his name is, he just left the day after or the day of the Theory Craft. And you see that, like, name a group that you've watched playing this game on stream, and they're no longer playing that game. It happens all the time. It's all over the place. It's undeniable. And I think part of the situation is the amount of time you spend thinking about Hearthstone has got to be much higher than the normal, like, casual, I'm going to play here and there. You're in podcasts, you're in Discords, you're working about Hearthstone based on, content creation. You're playing the game. Before that, you were, playing high level in the college gate thing. Collegiate. I don't know why I said it like that.
It's okay. Yeah,
you've been embedded in this game for so long, and for a long period of time. That's what you're doing. So it makes sense that, hey, first of all, it should always be this. If you're not having fun, stop doing what you're doing and do something that's fun. You have to do something that makes you happy. We're not going to be around forever, until they have figured out a way to, make people 150 years old. So have fun while you're awake. And maybe, listen, for this one, maybe absence will make the heart grow fonder, and 3 days later you'll be like, oh wait, I thought of a cool idea, and you reinstall it. Because if you go to his channel right now, and listen, the channel's been changed. It's so now YouTube /@Flair is gone, and his Twitter has been changed as well. This is not a joke. He's not playing around, at least for right now. Go watch his video of what he just did. It was very, very funny.
It should be the first one, because I made it my channel intro.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, the Hearthstone complaint department is not going anywhere. Nick and I are going to figure out what Nick wants to do. If he decides that he's good to go next week or what have you, because this could be literally a 12-hour situation. This could be something. I don't think it's going to be 12 hours, but it could be.
They announced like a sweeping nerf patch of like across like the last 4 years of the game. Oh, maybe I'll come back. Maybe, but
this could be a temporary situation. But I've said this to Nick and I've said this to other people that I talked to about this. I had the idea for this podcast months ago. I never decided to pull the trigger until I met Nick and, I saw some of the work that he was doing and I was like, maybe I should just go a little bit faster. And I appreciate that you came on and helped me get this on board and help me put this all together. The door is always open for you, but if you don't want to come in, you don't have to come in. I want you to have fun with every minute you're awake. And yeah, if you're not having fun, why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just tough, like, overall. Plus, like, the way that I've always seen this is that it's yours. I'm the guest, not the guest, but it is all about it. Like, you're the one that set all the stuff up. You're the one that approached me. So I have like I don't feel like not that obviously I feel bad because like you put all the work in, but I feel like me being replaceable is not something that was like ever questioned. Is what I'm trying to get at. Like, if I were to ever have been like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore, like, hey, let's try and find someone else. I feel like that's what I was thinking about going in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. This was not something that you built up and put together. You're just here to help, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Plus, so maybe you'll get someone new, and then I'll come back, and then there's 3 people. That could always happen as well.
That's true. There could even be 4 people. You never know. Listen, something's going to happen next week. The show's not going anywhere. I like doing this. This is fun. And I like everybody that comes over to the channel and says hi. And I love it when everybody calls to the complaint department, at speakpipe.com/HS complaints and talks about all the saltiest takes about Hearthstone. It has been absolutely fun. And we'll just see what happens next week. And yeah, everybody make sure that you're following Nick. And if you can, please, Nick, throw this out again for me, please, since this might be the last time you ever do this for at least, the far future.
Make sure to go to x.com and follow @thisweekinhs, and then go to YouTube and subscribe to @thisweekinhearthstone. This guy puts in way too much work for. I feel like when I'm talking about people that do YouTube stuff and I see who puts in the most work, I feel like there's no one more than Jay. Genuinely, he puts in so much work. I feel you guys gotta trust me. It's great.
I do more post and pre-production on YouTube content than I do on playing the video game. But that's all changing. There's some cool stuff that's happening. Just busy and everything. Thank you, Nick, for everything. You're always welcome here. And to everybody listening, I will talk to you next week. Absolutely. Nick might stop by. Maybe we're just going to sit there and have a small section about, the Marvel Rivals complaint department. No, we're not doing that. It is a fun game. It's pretty fun. And I will see you in the next podcast or what have you. Yeah, we don't have a tagline, but if we did have a tagline, it would be right here. And for possibly the last time, say goodnight, Nick.
Good night, Nick. And this time it really counts.
Yes, for real. Take care, everybody.